Okay, let's get in more somebody that's studying this case every single day is Captain Mark Bergman, the commanding officer of the Special Victims Unit. Thank you for coming in, Captain.
Morning.
Thank you.
So I think we're starting to piece this together. You work on it for every day. You got a decent description. Do you have better surveillance footage from anywhere?
We're looking now. We're still surveying the area, and we're broadening the search now to see if we captured him on one maybe further out. I can tell you that the basic description is a black male between 40 and 50 years of age, about 5'10" to 6 foot, thin build. He's been described as having a deep or raspy voice, and we do know from one of our complainants that he has a tattoo on his right side of his chest.
Do you know what it is?
It's letters or writing that's in a circular pattern around his right nipple.
Okay, I think that's new. That's good to know. So, and people say that he has a gray beard, but then in this description it says he's clean shaven. You think he's shaved that beard off, huh?
He may possibly have done that, yes. But our one victim, she describes him as having, almost like a 5 o'clock shadow, and with a salt and pepper and beard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so let's put up the map again. Are you checking out robberies and assaults for the last 3 or 4 weeks and see if there's any connection with all of them?
We are. These were robberies that involved a sexual assault. We're working with Southwest detectives going back at least a month, probably longer, to see if there's any other robberies in the area that match the same basic description.
And these are violent sexual assaults?
They're violent sexual assaults. Each one, the offender is armed with a gun. He threatens to shoot them if they don't cooperate, and he moves them. He changes their locations. He moves them he originally makes contact with them to another location where these sexual assaults occur.
So he started at a gas station, ended up in the Fairmount Park or something
Fairmount
like that.
Park, yes. And the second one with 2 victims, he made them get in their car and he drove them to an unknown location at least several blocks away, and then got in the back seat with them.
And so because of these similar details, that's why we believe they're all connected.
Oh, we believe the 2 sexual assaults we ever connected. Absolutely. The MO is the same, description's the same, yes.
How can we help you? How can the general public help you?
Well, somebody out there may recognize that description we gave,
especially the tattoo.
The tattoo and the raspy voice. Yeah, exactly. If somebody anybody saw anything, has any information at all, please contact us. They can call 686-TIPS with any information at all they think they might have. We'll follow up on all
It's
leads.
really the best way to do it is call the tip line. And you're anonymous.
If you want to remain anonymous, you can, yes.
Okay. Yes. Captain, good to see you, man.
Thank you.
Thanks
for the work that you
Appreciate
do.
it.
Yeah, every day.
Now, compared to what we were last year. We've had 480 naloxone deployments, and that's just police only. That doesn't include EMS, fire departments, or ER departments. So obviously this has had a tremendous impact on law enforcement. It seems like every decade or so...
Again, this is an event in Camden County. It's just getting underway. It's related to the opioid epidemic and promoting awareness. Let's listen in. This is in Camden County, New Jersey.
We've had to become part police, part EMS, part social worker. We've had to completely change our mindset. For years, police were trained, see a violation, make an arrest, get them into the system. We recognize now that the system's not perfect. An arrest alone is not going to deter anything. Who are the first people that a person struggling with addiction hurts? Their family and loved ones, right? Family, friends. So how, as police, are we going to be naive enough to think that a fear of an arrest is going to deter anything? Now, I'm not saying that enforcement isn't important, but I think we all agree now that a holistic approach is equally as important. Law enforcement has always had to evolve to suit the needs of its community, and I'll share just a couple of quick examples of some of the recent changes that we've had to undergo. Understanding and enforcing the Overdose Prevention Act, and I would like to give a quick shout out to Patty Dorenzo, who was instrumental in getting that law passed. It basically allows for immunity on possession cases when it comes to an overdose call. Police in the past used to respond to overdose scenes, and if they had a surviving victims and there was drugs on scene or there was paraphernalia, we were charging the surviving victim, charging the person that called 911. Thought we were doing a good thing, getting them into the system, maybe putting them on probation so they'd be monitored. We recognize now that that was just deterring people from calling for help. Narcan training. Every department in Camden County is trained to use and carry Narcan. And thanks to the prosecutor, Freeholder Director Capelli, Chief Chris Winter from Pine Hill Police Department, our office has entered an MOU with the 4 Camden County area hospitals to offset the cost of Narcan for police. The hospitals have graciously offered to reimburse police for the Narcan that they use, and that's huge. Our office has also issued a directive that police will ensure that overdose victims are transported to the hospital. The goal was twofold. One, to get the medical help, because we know now that a single dose of Narcan may bring somebody back, but it may not keep them back. The strength of these opioids, sometimes they fall back out. So we need to ensure that they get the medical help they need. And it also gives them the ability at the hospital to have a drug and alcohol counselor available when they're most vulnerable. Availability reduction in narcotic give-back programs. Police and law enforcement in general hold periodic give-back programs now. They also have drug drop boxes in their police department lobbies. And this allows people to safely dispose of their unwanted narcotics and medication, making it less available to people struggling with addiction. Pursuing difficult strict liability cases. We've taken a much more aggressive approach on pursuing these types of cases. They have their challenges, and you'll hear about that in a little bit from the assistant prosecutor that'll speak to you about those prosecutions. Partnering with groups like the Camden County Addiction Awareness Task Force, one of the most important partners that police have. We recognize that there's limits to what the police can provide, and the task force has the ability to bridge some of those gaps. They have members from every discipline that can provide a more global approach. The Drug Monitoring Initiative, which is run by the New Jersey State Police, it basically provides real-time drug information to police, EMS, and ER hospitals. It allows police to respond to hotspots. For example, if there's a flare-up in a certain area within the county, we may not know about it as police because these EMS are responding to the location, they're handling it as a medical assist, taking them to the hospital. We'll eventually find out about it, but now we know real time. EMS, the hospital, if they're treating overdose victims that the police don't know about, they feed that information to the New Jersey State Police ROC, who then blasts that information out to police. Gives us the ability to attack that specific drug location, that set, or that area, and attempt to, one, make a purchase so we can identify the drug that's being used out there causing the issues, and two, hopefully make a buy from the seller and interrupt the drug flow. Establishing a drug court in all the superior courts throughout the state of New Jersey. It's now statutorily mandated that we review all cases for possible acceptance into this program. It's usually nonviolent offenders that are accepted into the program, and it's a period of 5 years worth of probation with strict monitoring. It's completely funded by the state, and it requires an evaluation that recommends either inpatient or outpatient treatment. They have to report once a week in front of a judge, a prosecutor, a defense attorney, and a licensed substance abuse counselor. And they have to update on their progress weekly. If there's missteps or sanctions, the judge can do anything from make them write an essay to actual incarceration. We have about 800 participants in the drug program right now. The Camden County Jail also has a program for people that are incarcerated called the Second Chance Program. And again, it's alcohol and drug treatment within the jail walls. Entry into that program is based on classification. So these are just a few examples of what law enforcement has to change in the face of this epidemic. We've made progress, but law enforcement needs to continue to be aggressive in its partnerships if we're going to be successful. So at this point, I would like to introduce some of our partners that I'm speaking about. Our first speaker is someone who's been on the forefront of this battle. As freeholder liaison to the Camden County Addiction Awareness Task Force, he's not only extremely passionate about his involvement, but he's constantly challenging us on the task force to evolve. He's someone that truly understands the magnitude of this epidemic and is willing to do whatever it takes to help his community. It's my honor and privilege to introduce Freeholder Director Lou Capelli.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm going to say a few words about the Addiction Task Force, but before I do so, I first want to thank Mary for bringing this all together today and her staff. This continues to be the #1 public health issue, not only in Camden County, but the nation. And I want to thank law enforcement because without your help, without your partnership, we would not have been able to make the progress we've made thus far. And I have to tell you, I know you're all trained, as stated, to just, in the past, to see a crime, arrest, and that's all going by the wayside. And the sympathy that you've all shown and the cooperation that you've all shown in trying to address this problem has just been remarkable. And it's something I try to mention every time I speak publicly on this issue. The partnership between the Addiction Task Force and law enforcement continues to thrive. The task force was established 4 years ago, and it really had three purposes. Number one was to raise awareness of the problem, which I think we've done successfully, and now it's being done through many different media and outlets. Secondly, was to find help for those suffering from substance abuse disorders. And we've done a pretty good job of that, working together with the prosecutor's office, with the Police Chiefs Association. You know, all of your officers are now trained in Narcan, and you literally have saved thousands of lives out there and given so many people a second chance. One of the other things that we're trying to do right now, you'll hear about soon, is Project SAFE. And this is modeled on the Gloucester Township Municipal Drug Court. We are of the philosophy that the Superior Court Drug Court is a great program and it works well, but it's often the case that we're getting to folks too late in the process. And as you all know, drug offenders, usually the first arrest is something in the municipal court. So we want to start trying to get help to those who need help at the municipal court level. You're going to hear a lot about that. The other thing the Addiction Task Force is trying to do right now is to get detox beds here in Camden County. We are talking right now to a provider that we think will find a location very close to where we are right now and establish detox beds within the next year. There's such a shortage of detox beds, not only in the state but in this region, that we think will be very successful in accomplishing that. I just want to ask members of the task force to please stand and be recognized, chaired by Dominic Vesper, our Deputy County Administrator. So once again, thank you, and we stand ready and willing to help each of you any way we can. Thanks.
Thank you, Director. I'm going to show a short video to sort of expand upon what the Director said about the task force, just to give you an idea of what they're responsible for and some of the help they provide police.
After speaking with the Camden County Police Force and local families, I knew that creating an addiction awareness task force was something we needed in Camden County. Our goal is to increase awareness among county residents of heroin and prescription drug abuse and the devastating effects on our community.
I did move to Voorhees because I felt that Voorhees was extremely safe. The school district is excellent. It surprised me very much that drugs were prevalent in this area. When Justin passed away, he found 4 packets of heroin in his pocket. We were all in shock. I was devastated that all this time he was using the heroin.
The sad fact is that there are drug problems in every community. Heroin and opiates have become a growing public safety and health crisis, affecting the region, the state, and the nation in the last 5 years. These narcotics are in every community in Camden County, and usage is on the rise.
My name is Patty Dorenzo, and I became involved with the task force because it's important to me to help raise awareness, educate people, and lift the stigma of addiction. I lost my son Salvatore in September of 2010 to a heroin overdose. And I just want to be sure that other parents don't have to endure the same loss as I do, and I just want to do everything I can to raise awareness and lift the stigma.
I first got involved in the task force because I was asked by some of its members to join due to a lot of my experience that I have working with the addicts on a day-to-day basis. I've seen a lot of improvement in at least the relationships that have been built between the police force, between parents, between educators, and between people who are providing assistance to those with addictions, and especially in the city of Camden, where I've seen a much better, improved law enforcement system.
Having a law enforcement presence really allows us to learn more about the problem than we would typically if we were to read it in the press. When you talk to a police officer who has just a day before saved somebody's life with Narcan, you really get a feel for exactly what the problem is, and it makes the stereotypes kind of go away because you're now interacting with somebody who really knows the problem. The local police departments, our prosecutor's office, they take the intelligence they get on overdoses, where they're coming from, the ages of the folks. They really take that and bring it back to us in a form that's beneficial for us in our awareness campaigns. So there's a lot of value having those guys on our task force.
Overdoses are the most devastating part of the story. The families are torn apart by this disease on a daily basis. We are aggressively fighting those who survive.
Sergeant?
Five narcotics. We're working hard to create an open dialogue with youth in the community, those addicted and their families. Saving lives is our main goal, and we're doing what it takes to make a difference.
We decided to do something about it. The logical first step was to get the public involved in the process. Last May, the Freeholder Board held a community summit geared at raising awareness and bringing people together to come up with solutions to the problem. As a result of that community gathering, we received dozens of resumes from individuals interested in becoming members of the task force, and hundreds of people registered to assist in their local communities and school districts with awareness efforts. That outpouring of support from the community helped to shed even more light onto the idea that we were headed in the right direction. The goals of the task force are pretty simple. Help to reduce the demand and access to heroin and prescription drugs. Create awareness campaigns to help educate residents about the programs and resources available to prevent and treat addiction. Support the creation of additional resources to treat and prevent the addiction to heroin and prescription drugs.
Through research, we've decided to start with a few specific initiatives and work groups. Ability reduction, prevention programs, an awareness advertising campaign, advocacy support for policies related to our mission, and a funding work group to identify and apply for grants and funding.
Addiction is very, very personal, not just for me, but for everyone in this country. When you have someone in our family or we have close friends who've been negatively impacted, and this gives me an opportunity to give back.
Camden County actually has the 4th highest substance abuse admission rate in the state of the 21 counties. So the first issue was to raise awareness amongst the general public that they have to be aware of how significant this problem is out there.
Getting the message out to the community is important. One of the most critical aspects of raising awareness has been our billboard campaign. The campaign has been funded through donations by local media companies.
What's very interesting is that when Sandy Kelly did that, she made sure that she got input from high school students by looking at motifs, what would actually resonate with them, what would appeal to them, since they're the major people that are actually being affected by this problem. And then also for it to be catchy with parents seeing it, so they would also talk to their kids. So that ad campaign in a number of different ways, with the billboards, the brochures, information is given out when we give these presentations. This would put up in the schools, so it actually catches the kids' attention for them to be aware of the problem. And for parents to know that they also have to be aware of the problem and to speak to their kids about prescription drug abuse. We've talked about heroin, we've talked about marijuana, we've talked about alcohol, and during the course of that conversation, we don't talk to our kids about prescription drug abuse. Because a lot of parents are actually very surprised to find out that kids are abusing prescription medication. And it's something actually, growing up, that wasn't something that we thought about. We didn't think about going to a medicine cabinet and taking something out of there and trying it to see what happened. And that is what kids are doing today. So that ad campaign has been fantastic with spreading awareness about it.
When you see folks from different walks of life come together with a common goal of creating awareness, that seems to be the main focus of what our mission is, and that's to create the awareness. There's a lot of stigma with opiate heroin epidemic and heroin use, and this task force has gone beyond that stigma to show folks that it's not just a problem among certain groups, but all groups, and it's everywhere.
Task force meetings are interesting because we come from many different walks of life and different perspectives. Some as parents, some as medical professionals, some just concerned members of the community. My perspective comes from working with the addicts, and I do that with a lot of passion. So to me, it's an opportunity to help establish relationships, especially with the addicts, their families, with the police officers, because they are really the ones who are out there handling this day in and day out. Because I definitely, as a priest, I don't want to bury anyone's child. And as a police officer, they don't want to give anyone the news that their child is dead.
I think the task force has done great. I think the summit we had in Collingswood in May was amazing. We had over 700 people at that summit, and we had a lot of good feedback from it. We had a candlelight vigil in September, which was amazing. That was for people who lost their loved ones to an overdose. We had a vigil in our memory, and I think they're doing great. We have the education awareness, the posters they give out. It's great for me to be involved in the task force. I love being involved because being involved makes me a voice. And I'm a voice for parents in Camden County. You know, I lost my son. There's many people who lost their children. People have kids who are still struggling. I can be a voice to make a difference, and I'm here for them.
An open dialogue, easy access to information, and a support system are essential to help us fight this epidemic. I am proud to be a part of the Camden County Addiction Awareness Task Force. And I invite you to reach out for more information and to get involved.
You can find out more about our programs, initiatives, and work groups by visiting our website at addictions.camdencounty.com.
Thank you for that. I would like to introduce another very important partner in local law enforcement. Director Jerry Daly, Deputy Director Ray Massey from the Liberty Mid-Atlantic HIDA. Director.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. I think it's no surprise to anyone here that the problem with the opioid epidemic is not just localized in Camden County, but throughout our region, particularly acute on both sides of the road. And it's something that we have to address from that regional perspective as well as the local community avenues as well. We need to recognize that the sources of the supply of the drugs that are hitting our streets sometimes are from Colombia and Mexico, and other times are from doctors' offices and pharmacies. And these are virtually the same in terms of their effects on the body. But that being said, we also have to recognize that the illicit drugs, the street drugs, if you will, that are out there now, are more pernicious than ever in their toxicity and in their ability to be brought into the United States from abroad through something as easy as the International Mail System or UPS or FedEx. Day after day, we're seeing instances of these highly potent fentanyl analogs coming in from China and other parts of the world, coming directly into our communities, being redistributed into communities all around the region. We've had several instances of this occurring. And fortunately, our federal partners have been very aware and aggressive in pursuing this. But nonetheless, we can put all the efforts we have into stopping this supply, but it will be meaningless unless we do something about the demand. So we, as communities, we as law enforcement professionals, we as political leaders, all have to continue the message that was very well put in this video that was just shown, that all of this kills, and that all of us have a duty, a responsibility to ensure that young people in particular, but all people, stay away from these kind of substances. Thank you for having us here this morning. Looks like a great turnout from all segments of the community. We appreciate you being here. Please keep up the good fight.
Thank you, Drew. So I spoke briefly about the challenges that we face in strict liability cases. Camden County is a little unique because we live in an urban area, so we have some challenges when it comes to strict liability cases. Our next speaker is Deputy Section Chief.
The Camden County Regional Training Center, where they've been discussing the county's response to the opioid epidemic and other drug addictions. Let's show you a little bit about our weather right now. Here's a live look at Old City, Philadelphia. Currently it's 82 degrees, the dew point is 72 degrees, and we've got some winds out of the southeast at 16 miles an hour. It's been an interesting couple days weather-wise in our area. We've had some stormy weather, it's been up and down as far as a lot of rain coming through. Very, very humid. It's been very sticky here over the last couple of days. Let's take you back to that news conference. Looks like they are still going, and we'll take you there right now.
talk to you a little bit about the statute. And the statute was part of the Comprehensive Drug Reform Act of 1986, but it's very little used and it hasn't been heard of a lot. And here's why. Because part of the statute requires first proof that the individual charged has in fact distributed to the deceased. And I'll talk to you in a minute about how we can go ahead and prove that through basic, very technical evidence, so that we build a case where we could show that no one but this individual sold. But the reason that this statute is little used and very difficult to prosecute is because the statute has a second requirement, is that proof that the distribution caused the death. And that is where it can be very tricky. And cause the death is defined as the death cannot be too remote from the use of the substance. And as we know, often people that are suffering from drug addiction don't only use one particular substance. They use multiple substances. They can have heroin, they use marijuana, they often use alcohol, and things like that. And that is where the prosecutions become very difficult. As you're aware, people who die from drug overdoses undergo an autopsy, and part of the autopsy is a very detailed drug toxicology, which takes up to 3 months to complete. And in that drug toxicology, we wait for the toxicology to come back, and we work very closely with the medical examiner's office to try and determine, was the cause of the death the ingestion of one particular substance? And the legal challenges that we face in our prosecutions is that the medical examiner cannot testify and cannot say that one particular substance, if the person has multiple substances in their blood, was the cause of the death. So that's one of the barriers to prosecution.
The debate about security clearances, it's been around for a long time. Who should get them, how long they should keep them after they leave government, and so on. But this adds a political component to that debate. In a town bathed in secrets, who really needs to know? And if you combine security clearance access with biting criticism of the president, what then?
The president is exploring the mechanisms to remove security clearance because they've politicized and in some cases monetized their public service and security clearances, making baseless accusations of improper contact with Russia.
The White House has 6 people in mind, all of whom either have or had security clearances, and many of whom have been outspoken Trump critics, like former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, who is none too pleased.
I think this is just a very, very petty thing to do, and that's about all I'll say about it.
A former CIA director, John Brennan, even accused the president of treason after the Helsinki summit. And Kentucky Republican Senator Rand Paul, who is the driving force behind this, says enough is enough.
So an ex-CIA agent can get out there and say incredibly stupid things like the president is treasonous. Yes, no one's going to stop John Brennan from saying that. No one stops him from taking millions of dollars to say such horrendous things. But should he still get classified information?
Millions of people have security clearances, and many do profit from them after they leave the government, creating real questions. But this, according to Democrats, goes a step too far.
This is so extraordinary. The last thing you want in intelligence is partisanship.
And the political questions aside, there are some legal questions as well about whether a president, any president, has the authority to just unilaterally revoke security clearances. Mike and Alex, we'll see whether it actually comes to that.
That was Fox reporter Doug Luzader reporting from Washington, D.C. earlier this morning, talking about the president and his wish to revoke security clearances for some former members of former administration officials who have been critics of the president of late and his response to Helsinki Summit, the Robert Mueller special prosecutor investigation, and so on. We're going to take you live now to New York, where officials are unveiling a new CT scanner at Terminal 8 security checkpoint at New York's JFK International Airport. Here is that.
The airport's general manager of the Port Authority of New York, New Jersey. The Transportation Security Administration and American Airlines are working together to launch a new 3D computed tomography, or CT, checkpoint scanner in a checkpoint lane here at John F. Kennedy International Airport. This technology enhances TSA's ability to detect explosives and other prohibited items that may be contained inside of a carry-on bag. Our partnership with American Airlines allows the TSA to deploy new technology quickly to raise the baseline of global aviation security while improving the passenger screening experience. Current X-ray technology at the airport gives a transportation security officer a two-dimensional image to analyze. This state-of-the-art scanner, located here in the American Airlines terminal, will increase TSA's threat detection capability at a checkpoint by allowing TSA officers to rotate an image of a bag's contents 360 degrees to identify possible explosives and other threat items. It is the goal of this program to eventually allow passengers to leave their laptops and liquids in their carry-on bags, thus improving the experience. Piloting this computed tomography checkpoint scanner at one of the most challenging airports in the world will help TSA develop, improve, and deploy this new technology. Thank you, and it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Darrell Towns of American Airlines.
Thank you, John. At American Airlines, the world's largest airline with 6,700 flights per day, my colleagues and I work daily with the men and women of the Transportation Security Administration, TSA. We always want to implement procedures that enhance aviation security and improve passenger experience. Our team is also always looking for state-of-the-art technology that assists us in protecting our customers and team members. Last year, American and Analogic Corporation announced a joint partnership to greatly expand the use of computed tomography, CT technology, at airports worldwide. State-of-the-art CT checkpoint technology is expected to provide an enhanced level of detection for aviation security officers. According to TSA, research and development efforts have shown that CT is the most consequential technology available today for airport checkpoints worldwide. As part of our partnership with Analogic Corporation, American purchased multiple units of Analogic Connect CT aviation checkpoint security screening systems. This $6 million investment in CT technology for 8 units will help TSA test this equipment in the United States with our goal of making CT the norm at airport checkpoints. Aviation remains a high-value target for terrorists, and we were pleased to help make the investment in new technology that is desperately needed to stay ahead of the evolving threats. We are also pleased that Congress appropriated additional funds to the TSA for this important technology. CT technology improves detection capability by more effectively detecting threats, thereby increasing overall security effectiveness. This results in more effective security screening at security checkpoints. Speed is not increased by a faster belt, but the process is quicker because better image provided by the CT technology. Development of this new technology, both in the United States and abroad, is a critical component of enhanced aviation security. We anticipate that this technology will be deployed at other American hub locations later this year, which also may include testing overseas. The threat of global aviation is real, and all of us at American Airlines appreciate and value the opportunity to partner with the TSA and Analogic in order to secure our skies.
Good morning, I'm Charles Everett. I'm the Interim General Manager here at JFK. I would like to thank the Transportation Security Administration for inviting me to this important announcement. Today we are witnessing the benefits of what a strong partnership between the TSA and JFK can yield for our customers. This new computed tomography airport checkpoint screening machine is sure to make an immediate and positive impact to the customer experience here at JFK Terminal 8. It will provide superior capability of detecting dangerous explosive materials over traditional X-ray technology. In addition, the enhanced capabilities will allow the transportation security officers to divert bags as required without delaying any other bags, and they will be able to resolve alarms without an actual bag check when appropriate. The CT machines will not only assist in reducing wait times at TSA checkpoints, but will also enhance the security of all passengers traveling through the terminal. I would like to thank American Airlines and the Transportation Security Administration for their continued focus and efforts on ensuring the safety and security of Terminal 8 passengers here at John F. Kennedy International Airport. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. So there you go. Told you it wasn't going to take long. So what I'd like to do is to get everybody who has the number one slip of paper to come over here. And we'll start the process of choosing the people. It won't take long, but we'll get the number two. We've got some folks here from Analogic who have some technical questions. And these ones will stay here for you, so please feel free to talk to them.
I'll put it on my back. I'll put it on my front. Wash my back.
Again, you've been watching. This has been the TSA working collaboratively with American Airlines, demonstrating a new computed tomography scanner. That's a CT scanner at Terminal 8 security checkpoint at New York's JFK International Airport in Queens, New York. It looks like they're going to demo this right now. I see the camera was moving around. Let's take you back there for a moment and see how they're going to do this here.
So you will not see the X-ray image that's the way.
Again, we're watching a demonstration by the Transportation Security Administration, where they're, after working collaboratively with American Airlines, they're demonstrating a new commuted tomography scanner at Terminal 8 security checkpoint at New York's JFK International Airport in Queens, New York. Let's take you back there.
I gotta go.
You're gonna do it again?
The CT scanner is a computed tomography scan, which makes use of computer-processed combinations of X-rays taken from various angles to create tomographic or virtual slices of the specific areas of what you're scanning. This lets you see inside the object without cutting it. This will obviously have some very helpful uses at the airport to provide security. This is JFK International in Queens, New York, and you can see them demonstrating it right now. This is the Transportation Security Administration showing off its new CT scanner at JFK. Hopefully they'll be able to give us a look at what the scan looks like so we can see what the technician working the device would see. Again, you're watching a CT scanner be unveiled at the at Queens, in Queens, New York. You're watching them demonstrate a CT scanner at JFK International Airport. We'll take the shot back here for a moment while they move the camera around at JFK. Looks like they are getting themselves in position. Let's give you a quick look at the stock market right now, where things are off to a good start. Up 221 points on the New York Stock Exchange. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is over 25,000 at 25,266. It's up almost a percentage point right now at 225 up at the moment. It's a little more than an hour after the open on Wednesday. Let's get you another look at our weather here in Philadelphia. You can see it's been a stormy couple days. A a lot of the rain has gone to the west of the city. Delaware, of course, has gotten a fair amount as this coastal storm has just been churning rain into our area. Lots of humidity, lots of rain, especially to the west of the city. But there's a flash flood watch in effect for much of the area. Let's show you that. Flash flood watches, some warnings have been in effect this morning. Getting the details on those right now. There's flash flood warnings right now for parts of Maryland, Baltimore City. Some of the places very near the coast have been getting really hammered and deluged with the rainfall. Safety message National Weather Service keeps putting out there: never drive cars through flooded areas. The water may be too deep to allow safe passage, and most deaths that occur during flooding are related to vehicles trying to cross flooded roadways. So please be careful if you're driving around any place where a significant amount of rain has fallen in a short period of time. Let's get you a little closer look at the last 3 hours of rainfall in Philadelphia. Stuttering a little bit there, but here is a look at our temperatures right now. We're at 82 in Philadelphia, 83 down the shore in Atlantic City, 70 in Mount Pocono, nice and cool up there. But still, we're all seeing a bit of the humidity that's been really dominating our weather the last couple of days. Let's get you the heat index here. System's taking a little bit to pull up. There we go. All right, so you saw it's 82 in Philadelphia right now, but it feels like 87 already, 5-degree difference. Feels like 90 in Atlantic City. Lots of humidity out there. Yesterday's highs were, we're missing Philadelphia there, but mid-80s, but it certainly felt much warmer than that. It felt about the same this time yesterday as it does right now. Pretty warm. There's your current temperatures. Let's show you the Northeast in the 70s in some places. 80s getting up there. Out in Vegas, they're at 95, Phoenix 94, but very cool on the Pacific coast. 56 in San Francisco, 64 in Portland. Down in Florida, it's 83 in Tampa, 86 in, let's see, that's Miami. But warm all the way up into Boston, too. 82 in Boston, 77 in Detroit. Rain totals today, not so high just yet in the city, but look at Wilmington at 1.74 inches of rain already. Allentown over an 8/10 of an inch. Reading over a ½ inch. So if you are caught in one of those bands of rain streaming in, you will get a significant amount, and that's why those flood watches and warnings are up right now. You can see some of those to the west of the city. We've got a collection of flood warnings, flash flood watches, flood advisories, coastal flood advisories in effect for the area. That's why we're calling to. That's looks like that's a little stale. And we've got the 7-day. I'll get that for you. There's your 7-day forecast. 82 and humid with storms today. 80 tomorrow. It's 86 on Thursday with still some storms. Looks like maybe this unstable pattern will moderate a little bit as we head into the weekend. 88 on Friday, 86 on Saturday, 84 Sunday. Showers and storms return on Monday, 83. Of course, hopeful to get the Phillies games in tonight and tomorrow. Chase Utley back in town with the Dodgers. They'll be playing night side on Tuesday, and then again day side on Wednesday. Let's get you a look at our weather cameras from around the region. pull those up right now. You see some rain falling there in Reading, Pennsylvania. It's coming down pretty good. Let's take you back live. We're awaiting the start of a news conference, and it looks like it's just about to get underway, where they're going to be unveiling the plans for the new tomb of St. Katharine Drexel. This is being unveiled at the Cathedral Basilica of Saints Peter and Paul. Let's take you there live right now.
God of love, you called St. Katharine Drexel to teach the message of the gospel and to bring the life of the Eucharist to the Native American and African American peoples. By her prayers and example, enable us to work for justice among the poor and the oppressed, and keep us undivided in love in the Eucharistic community of your Church. Through our Lord Jesus Christ, your Son, who lives and reigns with you in the unity of the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and ever. Amen. St. Katharine Drexel, pray for us. My friends, as I said, it's a delight to welcome all of you here today for what is a very special day for the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, for the Cathedral Basilica of Saints Peter and Paul, and for the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament. In a formal way today, we announce the translation or the transfer of the sacred remains of St. Katharine Drexel, one of our own, a Philadelphia saint. We began almost a year and a half ago to discuss this possibility. At the time, the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament had discerned that there needed to be some changes in their own location of the Mother House, where for many years was the place of entombment for St. Katharine Drexel. And it seemed the most fitting place for this holy woman to come and continue her ministry, if you will, among us as a saint from heaven, is here in our Cathedral Basilica. She knew this church. She came to Mass here in this church. This church was a very important part of her own life and also of the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament. And so, for nearly a year and a half, we discussed what brings us here today. What's going to happen now is the construction of the new tomb for St. Katharine Drexel. And a little bit later in the press conference, I will show you some images of what that tomb will look like. The construction will take just a few weeks, and during that time, there will be a private transfer of the sacred remains of St. Katharine Drexel. We're grateful that so many people are interested in this moment, and it suggests to us that we make the best of it. And so we have planned many activities, both instructional, devotional, and popular activities, to once again make St. Katharine Drexel well known to the people of the Archdiocese of Philadelphia and beyond. Some of those activities include re-engaging our schools and catechetical centers throughout the Archdiocese, making use of all kinds of media possibilities, both print and visual, and also the possibility of social media to once again announce who St. Katharine Drexel is. There's nothing dated about this woman. The fact that she's a saint canonized by the Church makes her very present to us in many ways, spiritually and personally. And so her history, her ministry, her witness becomes very present to all of us. And her coming here is a very important occasion for us to say Mother Katharine means something to us today, as she has in the past, or perhaps more so in many new ways. We hope that all people will become aware of the tomb here at the Cathedral Basilica, but it's very important for us to mark the occasion in a formal way. And that will happen here at the Cathedral Basilica this coming November 18th. At the 11 o'clock solemn Mass on that occasion, we will formally install and bless the entombment of St. Katharine Drexel here in the cathedral. And the event is open to the public. Much more, of course, will be said about that event as we move closer to that date. Once the construction to bring St. Katharine Drexel here to the cathedral is concluded, which, as I said, will happen over the next several weeks, we will gather again and have an opening of her tomb here so that the public can become familiar with it and begin almost right away coming and ask the heavenly intercession of our friend in heaven, St. Katharine Drexel. It's very important for me to announce to you that all of this is possible because of the generosity of the Conley Foundation. The Conley Foundation has been a friend of the Archdiocese in many ways for many years, and there are many personal connections between the Foundation and St. Katharine Drexel, and we're most grateful to them. From the get-go, they were most enthusiastic and encouraging about the possibility of collaborating with the Archdiocese of Philadelphia to make this new location of the tomb of our saint possible. And we're going to hear from a representative of the Foundation later in our press conference. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce the president of the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament, Sister Donna Breslin. And she's going to speak to us for a few moments, but before she does, I want to say a thank you to her and to her sisters. Mother Catherine has been a gift to the Archdiocese from the beginning of the consecrated life that she embraced in the foundation of the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament, and from the Archdiocese all throughout the United States. And her tomb coming here to our cathedral church is another occasion of a gift on the part of this community to us. And Sister, we say thank you to you and to all the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament. So Sister Donna Breslin.
Thank you, Father Gill, and thank you, everyone. I am honored to be here today to share in this very special event. To give a brief history of St. Katharine Drexel is quite difficult. She is a woman whose life spanned 2 centuries. Born in Philadelphia in 1858, she died right over the county border in Bensalem on March 3rd, 1955. Catherine was certainly a Philadelphian at heart. She was raised here and was raised in a very prominent family, as many of us are aware of the Drexel family and their banking. When Catherine was a young woman, she participated in many of the privileges that the wealthy in this country had at that time. And her family was involved in many philanthropic efforts throughout Philadelphia and in other areas. She was very close not only to her immediate family, but also to her uncle Anthony Drexel, who was the founder of Drexel University. And so much of this, of her philanthropy, came from the example of her own parents, who lived their faith in action, and her relatives, who continued to share the wealth that they had. Their belief was that their wealth was not for themselves only, but it was a responsibility to be shared with others. Catherine, growing up in a privileged environment, went on to travel throughout the world and throughout the United States. And as a young woman traveling out west, she traveled through the Indian reservations of the United States, and she was shocked to see the poverty that so many of the Indian people of this nation were living in. And she began to hear more and more about the needs of African Americans who were suffering also from the society evils of prejudice and discrimination. Yes, she began to give her financial contributions to help in these efforts, but she felt something more. She felt that God was truly calling her to give her very self in the efforts to be a servant of these very people whom she had come to know and love. I want to just share a quote that sums up, I believe, the life and mission of Katharine Drexel. She said, "I wish every part of my being and life to be an instrument for fulfilling God's divine will. That was Katharine's life, and she lived it fully to the best of her ability. During her lifetime, she not only began a congregation, the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament, in 1891, to help her carry out this mission from God, but she placed her own self as well as her wealth to the establishment of many schools, many high schools, and ultimately to the foundation of Xavier University of Louisiana, the only Black Catholic institution of higher learning in this nation. For Katharine saw the dignity of every human being. And why was that? Katharine saw that dignity because she realized that each and every person is a child of God and holds within themselves the very image of God. Her life was dedicated to bringing those who had been put on the margins of society, to bring them within society and provide them with the same opportunities others had to reach their full potential. Throughout her lifetime, the establishment of educational opportunities for these people was a great achievement. But her greatest achievement was helping all of us to realize in her humble way, because she never liked having her picture taken. It was never about St. Catherine. It was always about the mission of God. What she wanted us to remember throughout her life was that each of us carries within ourselves the dignity of God. And today more than ever, don't we need that message? Today more than ever, St. Catherine speaks to us to remind us that we are, each and every one of us, children of a loving God, no matter what our faith, no matter what our race, no matter what our ethnicity or our social status. Catherine has often been referred to as an apostle of social justice. And that is the message she speaks to us today. She asks us to continue the mission that she was given by God, to carry on the respect and the love for one another that God calls us as his children, as his family. St. Katharine Drexel may have lived in the latter part of the 19th century and died in the middle of the 20th century, but her mission and message speaks loudly today and challenges each and every one of us to fulfill that mission that God has given to her, but she passes on to us. So it is with tremendous gratitude that I speak for the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament this morning as I thank the Archdiocese of Philadelphia for all that you have done, and especially Father Gill, in making this transfer of St. Catherine's body possible to come back here to the cathedral, a place which St. Catherine loved and was so much a part of her faith formation. I want to thank Archbishop Chaput for his graciousness in inviting us to have Mother Catherine come back here to the cathedral, and also to the Conley Foundation for making this possible. It is truly a blessing to know that our foundress, that the mission that we have been called to do as Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament, through our ministries of education, social service, pastoral ministry, will continue not only by ourselves, but through the lives of all the people who will come here to the cathedral and come to know and understand the mission of St. Katharine Drexel. May we, each and every one of us, be an apostle for social justice, as was St. Catherine. So once again, I would like to say thank you for this opportunity today, and I ask for God's blessings on all of you, and especially for all those who will be touched by the mission of St. Catherine. Thank you, and God bless you.
Sister Donna, thank you very much. It's just a very beautiful, beautiful message you gave us. And seeing also coming through you the spirit and charism of St. Katharine Drexel. I would like to say to Sister Donna and to all the sisters of the Blessed Sacrament, in some way, the cathedral also becomes your new home. And all of you have a very special place here as your foundress comes to be a part of our home here in the cathedral, the home of the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, her mother church. At this time, I would like to introduce Mrs. Josephine Mandeville, who is the chair of the board of the Conley Foundation. As I've already mentioned, all of this is possible today, and the many benefits, blessings, and graces that will continue here in this cathedral basilica because of the presence of St. Katharine Drexel, because of you and your generosity and support of this great endeavor. Josephine.
Thank you, Father Gil, and thank you especially, Sister Donna and Sister Sandra, for being here and bringing this wonderful message of your mission and the mission of St. Katharine Drexel. It is truly an honor for the Conley Foundation to participate and in this wonderful bringing Katharine Drexel home to Philadelphia. And the Conley Foundation was started by two Philadelphians, too, who dedicated their life to improving the quality of life for people in Philadelphia. And what better way could we help to improve that quality than to bring home this remarkable, wonderful Philadelphian saint who dedicated her life and her fortune and her energies to help underserved people, the underserved people of African Americans and Native Americans, as we still struggle to bring that equality and that support to all peoples that are underserved. It is a privilege, an absolute wonderful privilege, Monsignor Gill. Thank you for bringing this to us initially and to allowing us to participate in this incredible, wonderful event that honors our Philadelphia saint and honors all Philadelphians who come from a feeling of giving back to all people, and not only those people in our city of brotherly love. Thank you for this opportunity.
Mrs. Mandeville, thank you very, very much. I want to tell you a little story. The very first time I spoke to Mrs. Mandeville about the possibility of supporting this project, she was immediately enthused. It was a holy day of obligation that we met here in the cathedral, and so the cathedral was buzzing with lots of people, but she wanted to explore all kinds of possibilities. Do you remember that day? And it just was the beginning of a very happy and beautiful relationship, and one that will continue. And again, on behalf of the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, the Cathedral Basilica of Saints Peter and Paul, and the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament, thank you very, very much to the Conley Foundation. Thank you. As I mentioned earlier, friends, our conversation about the transfer of St. Katharine Drexel to the Cathedral Basilica began in January 2017. So many months have passed leading to this day. During that time, there was lots of very good discussion, conversation, and maybe even some disagreements about where was the most fitting place for our Philadelphia saint here in our Cathedral Basilica. We finally decided on the location where we find ourselves right now, and it's for many different reasons. The shrine in Ben Salem at the Mother House of the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament, familiar to many of you, had a very humble and beautiful setting for the tomb of St. Katharine Drexel. And so one of the things that we wanted to replicate was the simplicity of her tomb. Secondly, this location where we are now seemed like a natural spot, if you will, because behind me, right there, is the Drexel altar. Now we call it the Drexel altar because it was installed here in the Cathedral Basilica in memory of the parents of Elizabeth and Catherine. Okay. So anyhow, it seems since this area was already associated with the Drexel family, that this would be a very humble place then and fitting place for the tomb of St. Catherine. And so what I'd like to show you now is what it's going to look like. The mosaic that's already in place behind me has been here for some time, but you notice in the mosaic we have an image of St. Katharine Drexel herself. Looking at the mosaic, it's in the upper right-hand side. And there she is with an African-American child and a Native American child. So, formerly, right here, was a statue of St. Paul. That statue was removed, so now we're ready for the construction of the tomb. So let me show you what it looked like up until just a couple weeks ago. So you can see, here is the mosaic. Here is the statue of St. Paul. Over here is the Drexel family altar. Above the altar is a statue presently of St. Katharine Drexel that was commissioned soon after the canonization of St. Katharine Drexel. This is what it's going to look like. Here you can see, looking at this rendering, what we bring forward to this location is almost a perfect replica of the tomb of St. Katharine Drexel as it is in Ben Salem at the Mother House of the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament. This woodcut that's above the tomb is the woodcut that is already in place in Ben Salem. And so the tomb with the woodcut will come to us so that, in a sense, there will be a continuity for so many people as they've come to know the holy place in Ben Salem, where they would pray for the heavenly help of this saint. And now we'll do the same here in our Cathedral Basilica with the tomb looking very much like it always has. I want to say that the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament were very much in favor of this location and the look of the tomb, which was very important to us. And also, having the tomb here in this part of our Cathedral Basilica will give visitors and all people who come wide access to pray here and ask for the heavenly help of this apostle of social justice, St. Katharine Drexel. So we're very happy that we're at this moment when in just a few weeks our Philadelphia saint will be reentrusted to the Cathedral Basilica, and this will be her new home. I hope all of you are pleased with this and find this especially acceptable and a great blessing here in the cathedral. Right. At this time, I'd like to open up the press conference to a period for questions, and questions of myself, or maybe even some questions of the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament, or maybe a representative of the Conley Foundation. Yes, and you are?
I'm Joe Chevalier with the Bucks County Courier Times, Fothergill.
Joe, didn't we just speak on the phone?
We did.
Okay. How are you? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. My question is, will you be bringing over the same tomb and wood cutting that is currently in the Mother House?
Exactly.
Okay.
We're going to bring the very same tomb and stone and wood cutting from the present location of the tomb of St. Katharine Drexel. Thank you, Joe, and good to meet you. Anyone else? Other questions? Or Sister Eleanor?
Yes, Father, would you talk briefly about the project related to the Roundbush lighting project?
Okay. We have different people who are going to work on the installation of the new tomb of St. Katharine Drexel. But in addition to the architectural firm, and some of them are represented here as well, CTO, who have been very good and wonderful to work with, we recognize that this area here is somewhat inaccessible in terms of lighting. So some of you are recognizing sitting right here, there's a little bit of a shadow and some darkness. So we are going to rework the lighting all throughout this area with a company called Rambush, who worked on the lighting in this basilica at the turn of the last century, and also during the major renovations in the middle of the last century, and also did some work at the time of the Eucharistic Congress. So we hope to make the area as accessible as possible, especially through lighting. There will be the possibility of people, of course, to come and pray at the tomb of St. Katharine Drexel anytime, which means that we're going to provide information to encourage prayer, information about her life so people come to know her. We already have cathedral ambassadors who are docents and provide tours and instruction about the cathedral, and now they'll add to the instruction that they give information about the life of St. Katharine Drexel and encourage people to pray here. But we also hope to provide flexible seating and opportunities even for groups to come and pray and be present to our saint as she's buried here in this new place in the cathedral. So a lot is going to go into making this shrine area fitting and beautiful and dignified for our new resident here in the Cathedral Basilica. Sister, thank you. Yes, and you are?
Hi, I'm Sarah Hoover with WHYY.
Sarah, nice to meet you.
You too. I have two questions. One's just a clarification on the timeline, because you had mentioned that the formal unveiling will be at the November 18th.
Yes.
And then it'll be open to the public, but was that in September or is that?
Okay. That's a very good question. We don't want to wait until the formal installation of the tomb, which will be in November, before we make the tomb available for people to come and pray and visit St. Katharine Drexel. So our plan is, once we see construction coming to an end, and we're ready to say, Mother is here, come and pray, to make an announcement and let people know that the shrine is open. The more formal installation of the tomb will take place in November. Archbishop Chapuis will celebrate that Mass. It'll be the 11 o'clock Solemn Mass on the 18th, and the formal installation will happen on that day.
And my second question was, I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about some of the programs that are planned.
Okay. Thank you. Excellent. We are working with Divine Partners, and that is a group that is willing to assist us in making St. Katharine Drexel present again in the Archdiocese of Philadelphia in whatever way we can. We don't want her to be a secret. We want everyone to know her, to love her, to be inspired by her, to be encouraged in living their Christian lives by her. And in order for us to do that, we have to get the word out. That becomes our responsibility. And so one of the chief ways for us to do that is catechetically, instructionally. So we hope to engage every possible agency in the Archdiocese of Philadelphia to make her known. As I already mentioned, all media forms will be made use of, but putting together materials that will be easily accessible to every level of society, the young, the not so young, every type of group, so that this woman, as available as she is to all of us from heaven, becomes especially available to us here on earth, so that we can come to know her and be inspired by her and count on her help. So we will make that available. In fact, what we're going to do is to add to our website, the Cathedral Parish website, information from this point on about her tomb here and the projects that we hope to make available. And our own communications office will help us do that as well. Was that helpful?
Yes, that includes like the documentary and
Everything. A documentary on Mother Catherine. Is Mark Abrams still here? We love Mark. Mark is a great, well, you're all good friends of the cathedral, every one of you, but I have a special place for Mark.
So you will hear his voice on KYW speaking about Mother Catherine. And listen, you're welcome to do what you can do too. Become a special friend as well. Okay. Yes.
Yes, Ed O'Donnell,
Ed,
charity, Winthrop Foundation, both for father and sister. Do we know if she worked against war and for peace? And did she have anything to say about abortion?
Okay, I'll answer that question, sister. Okay. First of all, it's always good to see you. This is a friend of the cathedral, and I'm delighted for your question. How could she not have been against war and for peace? Okay? That's who she is as a Christian, a Catholic, a consecrated woman. During her lifetime, the issue of legalized abortion would not have been the moral and social concern that it is today. But you can be sure if Mother Katharine Drexel was alive today, it would be on the forefront of her agenda to be absolutely against this hideous crime against the unborn in the womb of their mother. It would come from her love of the Eucharist, her understanding of who Jesus is, and he who is our life. Is that helpful?
Excellent.
Okay, Ed. Anybody else? Yes, and you are?
Hi, I'm Alexandria from the Associated Press.
Alexandria. Okay, very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I was just wondering if you knew anything about the history of the design for the wood cutting.
You know, I don't know at this point enough about it, but I can tell you the reason for it. Do you see that item in the center? That's what we call a monstrance. And that is a liturgical appointment, a liturgical vessel, which is used to contain the body of our Lord, the most blessed sacrament, so that people can see the host and would be invited by seeing it to adore and praise the Lord Jesus even more so. Now, Mother Catherine took as the title of her religious congregation the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament, and she saw a very important connection between the body of Jesus in Holy Communion and all of us. And the strength that came to her and her sisters to be in the service of everyone because of her love and adoration of Jesus in Holy Communion, in the Blessed Sacrament. And so that is the image in the center of the wood carving. And then on either side are angels. One angel is holding another liturgical appointment called a thurible, which issues incense, which is a sign of praise and adoration of Jesus. And so one of the reasons why we're going to bring this wood carving or woodcut to the cathedral is not only because it is associated with her tomb in Ben Salem, just as you see it here, but to look upon that in itself teaches us something about St. Katharine Drexel. St. Katharine Drexel, whose whole life revolved around the Eucharist, and saw in the Holy Eucharist and Holy Communion every grace and strength she needed to do her work, which is true today and true always. Is that helpful? Okay. Someone else? Yes. And you are? Wonderful. Welcome.
The first question, I got a little confused, is there's a new construction that's happening here and the old one also being brought?
Okay. When I say new construction, if you look here, you see there's nothing here. So what needs to be constructed is a platform or a step so that we can bring the tomb and the sacred remains of St. Katharine Drexel and affix them to the platform or the step. And then behind the tomb, in this backdrop, is stone as well that needs to be reconstructed. Some of it is new, some of it will come from Ben Salem, in which will be inserted the woodcut that is already at the Mother House. Okay?
And then my second question, Father, can you talk a little bit about what spawned this decision or sparked the conversation about moving St. Katharine Drexel's remains here?
Okay. I would say there are two things. First of all, it's not uncommon for the Mother Church of a diocese like this beautiful church, our Cathedral Basilica of Saints Peter and Paul, to be the home or the resting place for the remains of local saints. In fact, that's quite common throughout the world, especially in Western Europe. When St. Catherine died, she was Mother Mary Catherine. She was the foundress of the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament. And so it's the normal course that when a sister dies, even if she's the foundress of the community, that her burial place be among her sisters and typically at the mother house. Now, there was some foresight on the part of someone in the congregation that had prepared a tomb for Mother within the mother house. All of a sudden, she's canonized. Well, that was awesome. In the year 2000, our Holy Father, Pope St. John Paul II, recognized the faith and devotion of people like ourselves, and more importantly, the heroic life of Mother Catherine, that had him infallibly state that she is a saint. So, the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament then, years later, realized that their own situation indicated that they were going to have to rearrange how they were going to conduct themselves and their properties. And one of the things that unfortunately would have been sacrificed was the mother house. So that necessitated the translation or the transfer of the tomb of the saint somewhere. And the almost natural place for her to come was right here. So that's the history. So it's very logical and reasonable. And we're all very happy about it. Okay. Anyone else? Well, I hope that you found this helpful. And once again, I am very grateful to the media. We need you. We need you to help us get the word out. Everyone is welcome to the Cathedral Basilica all the time, but especially now that this is going to be the new home for our St. Katharine Drexel. I know that many of you have questions, perhaps that you weren't ready to ask publicly. I'll be available after the press conference. Two of our parish priests are here, parochial vicars, Father Kenneth Brabazon and Father Louis Kolinkevich, and also Sister Eleanor McCann, who would be available for you to ask some questions, or if you wanted some clarification on anything that was said, they're ready to speak with you. And before we close the conference, I want to say again to Sister Donna, and also her sister is here as well in religion, Sister Sandra, how grateful we are to the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament. This certainly forges a new moment in the beautiful relationship between the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, our cathedral, and your congregation. So thank you very much. I had two relatives who were Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament, a successor of Mother Catherine and another sister. And once again, I'd like to say thank you to the Conley Foundation. May I introduce Tom Riley, who is the president of the foundation, is here with us as well. Thank you. And Josephine Mandeville, thank you again very, very much. And we're just so grateful for the relationship we have and look forward to it continuing as well. And to everyone else who came from the Office for Divine Worship, from the Pastoral Center, from the parish, media, our communications office, God bless you, thank you, and St. Katharine Drexel, can we say it every day? Many times a day? Wonderful. God bless you. Thank you. Yes.
I did.
You've been watching a news conference where plans have been unveiled for the relocation of the tomb of St. Katharine Drexel. It's going to be at the Cathedral Basilica of Saints Peter and Paul in Philadelphia. Want to take you to a very different story that's occurring right now. Sky Fox is over the scene of a shooting in Chester County, Chester in Delaware County, Pennsylvania. Let's get you there right now. We don't have much information about what's occurring here just yet, but Sky Fox is over the scene. You see some police and emergency responders at the intersection down there. We'll get you some more information as soon as it's available. Let's take a live look for a moment here. It looks like police are trying to preserve a crime scene there. They've got some evidence markers down. Got a tarp up over the rain to prevent any rain that might come through or wind to keep from messing up the crime scene there. Investigators working at the scene of a shooting here in Chester in Delaware County, Pennsylvania. Looks like that car may be involved. You see investigators peering into the car there. Offenders Assessment Board is recommending that Bill Cosby be classified as a sexually violent predator, the Associated Press is reporting. Montgomery County District Attorney requested a hearing on the report Tuesday, so a judge can decide if the entertainer will be classified as a sexually violent predator. No date's been set for the hearing as of early Tuesday. The 81-year-old now Cosby was convicted in April on sexual assault charges. These accusations are related to charges that he drugged and assaulted Andrea Constand in 2004. The report looks at 14 different areas to determine the status, and it's not public. State law requires Cosby to register as a sex offender, but this classification would require increased treatment in prison and increased notification of neighbors upon release. Cosby is scheduled to be sentenced on September 24th. The Associated Press left a message with a lawyer but had yet to hear back. The Sexual Offenders Assessment Board is responsible for conducting assessments of certain convicted sex offenders in order to assist the court in determining whether they meet the legal criteria for classification as a sexually violent predator. So that happened a little while ago today. We're going to sign off now. This has been Fox 29 News Now. Thank you very much for watching. We bring you live events as often as we can during the course of the day. Have a great afternoon. Stay dry. Let's take one more look at radar here. Also, earlier, there was a flash flood warning issued for the area. Let's get you that real quick before we sign off. This is out in the Harrisburg area. Specifically, is a flash flood warning. It's in effect for west central Lancaster County and south central Pennsylvania, York County and south central Pennsylvania, southern Dauphin County, that's where Harrisburg, the county seat, is located, and northeastern Cumberland County. This is until 1:45 p.m. At 10:45 a.m., Doppler radar indicated an area of heavy rain moving into the warned area. Now this is what's amazing. Up to 8 inches of rain has already fallen in this region over the past few days. with flooding occurring in many locations. And they expect an additional 1 to 3 inches of rain is likely by early this afternoon, and that will increase the severity of the flooding. So again, that flash flood warning, some of the locations that will experience flooding, they expect, are Harrisburg, York, Lower Allen, Hanover, Hershey. There have been some pictures out there from Hershey Park the last couple days of some flooding there. Elizabethtown, Mechanicsburg, Camp Hill, those areas are in that flash flood warning. So if you see high water on the road, do not drive through it. Authorities say turn around, don't drown. Low water crossings are potentially dangerous in heavy rain. Do not attempt to cross those flooded roads. Find an alternate route. So if you're out in the Harrisburg, Lancaster County